Yesterday morning, after a terrible session with reporters, Donald flew to the NATO summit in the Netherlands. From there, he was given the welcome he so richly deserves. Take a look. Aw. Sadly, Donald's day didn't get much better. Later that evening, a humiliating intelligence report leaked. Let me put it another way. An intelligence report with actual facts leaked, contradicting everything Donald has been bragging about in terms of his unauthorized, illegal, unconstitutional missile attack on Iran. Details from a Defense Intelligence Agency assessment were leaked to CNN, and according to multiple sources, U.S. strikes failed to destroy Iran's enriched uranium stockpile, and most of its centrifuges remained intact. Donald said Iran's nuclear program was quote unquote completely obliterated, unquote. But one source noted that Iran likely relocated the enriched uranium before the attack, maybe because Donald let everybody on the planet know it was imminent. The source revealed to CNN, quote, the DIA assessment is that the US set them back maybe a few months tops, unquote. This news led to Donald getting absolutely beaten up in a press conference in Hague today because he wasn't in America, and journalists overseas actually still care about doing their jobs. He looked like an idiot because he doubled down on his prior claims about Iran. Watch here.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've made clear your position on what impact the strikes had. I wanted to ask you what is next with Iran. For instance, is there any indication from U.S. intelligence that Iran was able to move any material?
No, we just the opposite. We think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move. And if you knew about that material, it's very hard and very dangerous to move. It's called, in many people they call it dust, but it's very, very heavy. It's very, very hard to move. And they were way down, they're 30 stories down. We destroyed the nuclear. In other words, it's destroyed. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up. The kingdom come. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating.
Only person I've ever known who smiles while mispronouncing the name of the city, Hiroshima. Okay, where to start? None of that is true. I don't know what this dust is of which he speaks, but the reason that this missile strike, this very limited missile strike, did not achieve the desired ends is because that facility, one of those facilities, is buried deep within a mountain. And international experts on such matters have said that in order to get anywhere close to obliterating those nuclear stockpiles, the United States would have to engage in a sustained attack on that facility. That's not what happened. So was there damage done? Yes, there was damage done. Was everything obliterated? Not by a long shot. Plus, of course, there is literally no reason to believe Donald when he says that they had no opportunity to move those materials because they hit them so hard and fast. He let everybody know what was going to happen. The idea that he has achieved peace, that the war is over, is also an absurdity. There is a ceasefire, yes. It's hanging on by a thread. So when he says he's ended the war, nobody, including him, knows what he's talking about. The DIA is the intelligence arm of the Pentagon, but the Trump regime continues to do backflips in order to undermine that report and keep Donald from looking like a loser who doesn't know which side is up. Here, Caroline Leavitt called the assessment by our intelligence agencies flat out wrong. But journalists kept pressing about this issue because the American people are, as it turns out, quite upset that the president of the United States engaged in this illicit, unconstitutional military action. When you lie to the entire planet about something this consequential, people are going to start calling you out. Donald got particularly flustered when he was asked directly about his undermining his own intelligence community. Now, watch him get defensive and start parroting talking points and even backing off at one point.
Here we go. Here's another one.
Thank you very
We
much.
got them all today.
Okay. So, Mr. President, you talked about expecting some on-the-ground assessments at Fordo and other sites.
Oh, here.
Is that
Here again.
And U.S.
It's been obliterated, Kelly. It's been
What is your message then, sir, to the intelligence community when they present reports? You're not disputing the DIA report. You're just...
They presented a report that wasn't finished. We're talking about something that took place 3 days ago.
I understand that.
It's been obliterated, totally obliterated. And they did a report, but it was like, if you look at the dates, it's just a few days after.
Understood, sir.
So they didn't see it. They said it may be very severe.
Understood. Do you have a message for the intelligence community, though, in terms of unvarnished information getting to you, that it's not...
I don't really have a message. I would say issue the report when you know what happened. I wouldn't say that it could be severe or maybe not. They use the word severe. It could be severe or maybe it's not.
And briefly,
So people like you picked up and said, oh, it's not severe.
We're just-
No, the report was not a complete report. Yeah, the message was probably wait till you know the answer before you...
and sir, did you not...
Oh, yeah, because he's famous for waiting until he knows the answer to anything before spouting off about it. Also, the contemptuousness with which that creep speaks to other human beings is so unacceptable. It's especially from somebody in his position. I don't understand why he's allowed to get away with it. After this one-sided confrontation, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth came to Donald's rescue because apparently that's his job. Watch Hegseth as he tries to frame Donald as the victim here and talk about quote-unquote leakers.
There's a reason the president calls out fake news for what it is. The instinct of CNN, the instinct of the New York Times is to try to find a way to spin it for their own political reasons, to try to hurt President Trump. And when they introduce that preliminary report that's deemed to be a low assessment, you know what a low assessment means? Low confidence in the data in that report. And why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs is buried under a mountain, devastated and obliterated. So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated.
Oh, wow. I guess Hegseth thinks he's clever. Question. Did he actually go there and with a shovel to see the impact that those 12 bombs had on that facility? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure our intelligence agencies are the ones designed to gather intelligence about such things. Unfortunately, there is literally zero sign of intelligence among the three men standing behind that microphone. Because he's Donald, his morning of international humiliation was not over. But before we go on, please remember that we here at Mary Trump Media are not corporate media. We are independent and dedicated to holding leaders like Donald accountable for their lies. So please like and share this video. And if you believe in our mission, subscribe to our channel. It wasn't just Iran. Donald had a lot to say about. Unfortunately, he has a lot to say about a lot of things. Other European countries were also the subject of Donald's erratic remarks, including the Netherlands and Spain. While at the NATO summit, Donald made time for those things he really cares about, his fellow racists, including the far-right leader of Holland, Geert Wilders. Wilders has made a career for himself saying things like, quote, less asylum and immigration, Dutch people first, unquote. That sounds hauntingly familiar. Wilders has also said that Islam is a totalitarian political ideology with some religious tinges. In other words, he's an Islamophobic racist. When questioned about Wilder's character after Donald met with him, he responded pretty much how you'd expect. Take a look.
And you had another meeting with the Dutch opposition leader, Mr. Wilders. Can you tell us about that meeting? And are you upset about his anti-Muslim stance?
I'm not upset about it. It's just his view. He's unhappy with the way things are going in this country and various countries. He was an opposition leader, and I was asked to meet with the opposition leader by the people that are running. I think they have some deal where if you have a meeting, you're supposed to meet with an opposition leader. I said, that's strange. We don't do that. But I met with I didn't know him. He seemed like a very nice guy, but he's in opposition to the current people, and that was set up by the current people. So I assume when I met with the prime minister, you're supposed to meet with the opposition. We'll have to try that sometime in our country. Let's not do it.
Oh, listen, the stupid, it burns. I don't, sometimes I listen to him and I cannot wrap my head around the fact that he is president of the United States of America. So let's put this stupidity aside for a second and the obviousness of the fact that he doesn't know anything about anything or how anything works. This is not the first time that Donald has referred to racists as very nice guys. I mean, all you need to do is like him and hate the right people, because why would he have a problem with Wilder's virulent Islamophobia? Donald shares it. So remember, it was not that long ago when Donald referred to his violent supporters, the Nazis who marched on Charlottesville, as very fine people. He's also completely down with the insurrectionists who on January 6th violently attacked not just our Capitol, but our Capitol police officers. Why is he okay with them? Because they did it to show their support for him. Donald also took the opportunity to call out Spain, one of our longstanding allies, for refusing to increase its arms budget as he has demanded. At the NATO meeting, the goal was to get every country to agree to a 5% GDP defense spending deal, but Spain didn't want in. It removed itself from that deal and instead committed to 2% GDP defense spending. That apparently made Donald very, very, very unhappy because, again, as always, he acts like the money is going to go directly into his pocket, and for all we know, it might. Take a look.
A question on Spain. Are you satisfied with today?
Oh, I think Spain's terrible what they've done. No, I do. They're the only country that won't pay the full up. They want to stay at 2%. I think it's terrible. And, they're doing very well. The economy is very well. And that economy could be blown right out of the water with something bad happening. Spain is the only country that... Are you from Spain?
Yeah.
Good, congratulations. You're the only country that is not paying. I don't know what the problem is. I think it's too bad.
That sounded a little bit threatening to me. They could be blown out of the water by something bad happening. Like, I don't know, maybe he's given this some consideration and maybe has something in mind as something that maybe a word that maybe starts with a T and ends with an ARIFF. I wouldn't put anything past him. But Donald praises institutional racism because he benefits from it. He threatens our close allies because he's a bully and he cannot handle it when he doesn't get his way. He's incapable of diplomacy, and he can't even behave like a normal human being on the international stage. Why? Well, because he isn't one. He has no leadership qualifications or qualities at all. So once again, he gets up in front of the world, he humiliates himself, and he humiliates the United States. Finally, Donald's public humiliation ended on the subject of one of his worst international missteps. That's not strong enough a word. Disasters. An Austrian reporter took Donald's own words about Ukraine and threw them back at him, exposing him as somebody who was all talk and zero results. Have a look.
You once said that you would end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. You later said you said that sarcastically.
Of course it was sarcastic.
But you've now been in office for 5 months and 5 days. Why have you not been able to end the Ukraine war?
Because it's more difficult than people would have any idea. Vladimir Putin has been more difficult. Frankly, I had some problems with Zelensky. You may have read about him. And it's been more difficult than other wars. I mean, look, we just ended a war in 12 days that was simmering for 30 years, frankly. We ended Rwanda and the Congo. They're coming to sign the documents. We've already signed basic documents, but they're coming, I think, to the White House on Friday. We ended Serbia was going to go at it. But maybe the most important of all, India and Pakistan. And that wasn't whether or not they may someday have nukes like we're talking about in the Middle East, like we're talking about with Israel and Iran. This is they have nuclear weapons. I ended that with a series of phone calls on trade. I said, look.
Okay, let's just avoid that question entirely and change the subject. It's more difficult than Donald could have imagined because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't understand negotiations because for him, negotiating is, I want everything I want. And that's the position from which he does not move. He's not a diplomat. He doesn't understand diplomacy. He has no respect for diplomacy. He's simply a power-hungry child with no social skills whose only way to deal with controversy and conflict is to bully and demean and insult. It is a huge tragedy, especially in these extremely complex geopolitical times, that we have in power somebody who has no social or emotional intelligence and absolutely zero intellectual curiosity. What does that mean? That means that Donald thinks he knows everything already. He thinks he knows more than everybody else, and he doesn't have to put in the work because why should he? He's so great. Also, he doesn't want to do the work anyway. He wants everything simple. He wants to be in control of everything, and he wants everybody to be obedient to his whims. When that doesn't happen, you see some of his responses there. He can't handle it. Now, of course, because the pressure brought to bear on him at press conferences like that is not sustained or sustainable. So he crawls back into his right-wing fascist bubble and he gets his ego propped up by his enablers and his sycophants. He's completely over his head here. We know it. The world knows it. And the reason you see the cracks starting to form when anybody challenges him is because deep down, he knows it too. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.